In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 common traits that all the successful agents that I know do regularly. Hi, I'm Mikesh, and on this channel, I share proven strategies and tools that I use to grow and scale my real estate business to become a top producing agent. All right, so let's get into it. In this video, I really want to uncover when you look at people that have amazing real estate careers, what are the things that they do day in, day out, week in, week out in order to be successful? And I'm not talking about these realtors that come and go, that are a flash in the pan, that might, come into the business this year, have a great year, and then they're already out of the business next year or the year after. I'm talking about who are those agents that have stood the test of time. They've been strong in down markets, strong in up markets. They've gone through different seasons, and yet they continually produce at the highest level. They all have, I found this common denominator, these 3 traits that I'm going to share with you. The very first trait they have is they follow a daily schedule. So things that make agents successful, things that help me be successful, is we got to time block out what are the critical activities. So you set your calendar up and, hey, put whatever personal boundaries you need to in there. I'm a firm believer that personal and family time is important and should, in many cases, come before our business time. We can't let our business take over our lives, or we'll have no life at the end of it. So, hey, block out that personal time, block out those boundaries. But then with the remaining time that you have available, what are those critical activities that you need to put in there, that money-making, that income-producing activity? You've got to really look at it that way. And I worked with a mentor, and one of the things that he had me do was he had me write out my weekly schedule, and he had me color code it. So green would be for income producing, blue would be for personal things that I had to attend to during the week, like doctor's appointments, things like that. And then we color coded the other activities red. So these are things that have to happen, but they're not like the income producing activities that lead to, a thriving business. So these might have been things like home inspections and, hey, I got to go do my CE, and we would block that time out. But that would give me a framework to my week that I could apply to. Now, when it comes to prospecting, agents can love it or hate it. I find that most hate it. They don't actually enjoy it, but it's a necessary component of a successful real estate career. So when I approached my prospecting time, I didn't want to prospect every day just for the sake of prospecting every day. I wanted to figure out how much time did I need to prospect. So what I would do is I would reverse engineer my goal. So, whatever my goal was, you figure out, okay, I want to make this amount of money per year. Great. Figure out how many sales you have to have based on your average market value in your market in order to achieve that level of income. And then figure out what are the lead sources that you're going after, and then how much prospecting work would you have to do based on an average conversion of that lead source in order to hit your desired outcome. So once you have this reverse engineered, you can figure out how many hours per week you need to dedicate strictly to prospecting, and you need to treat this time like an appointment. You need to be religious about it. So once you have that amount of hours, you can time block. What I did personally is I looked at the MIT lead response study to find, what are the most effective times to prospect? Instead of me just picking a time when I feel like prospecting, what is the time that I can pick that's going to be the most effective? And those times are Wednesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. or in the morning from 8 to 9 a.m. So, let's say that you reverse engineer your goal and you need to time block 6 hours a week of prospecting time. Great. You could pick, Wednesday and Thursday from 4 to 6. That would give you 4 hours. And then maybe you do from 8 to 9 on Wednesday and Thursday morning, and that would give you your 6 hours. That would be the time you dedicate to time blocking this activity in order to make sure that you get those critical activities done. The second trait that I see amongst all successful realtors is that they lead gen daily. So you've got to lead gen daily. What does that look like? Well, once you reverse engineer your goal, you've got to figure out what are the lead sources that I'm going to go after? Where am I going to prospect? And what I find works best is picking 3 to 5, no more than 5. And in many cases, it's better to be 3. I did 3 lead gen sources. So I focused in on 3 areas of business for me. And those were expired leads. I didn't do FSBO, just did expired leads. I worked with bank leads, so doing BPOs and working with a bank. At this time, when I was doing this heavily, it was during the recession. So bank properties were very, specific and good. and I did pay-per-click leads, online leads through Google. So you just have to have realistic understanding about what the expectations is of the conversions of those leads. Generally, as an industry whole, that's about 1% for pay-per-click leads. But I found that to be a very effective form of business for me because it was something that I could scale and I could manage very predictably. So pick 3 to 5 lead sources, no more. And you want a time block for generating leads in those areas that you decide to pick. And then you want to stay on and you want to be consistent to make sure that you're generating enough leads. So if you've reverse engineered your goal, you're going to know exactly how many leads you need to generate, and you need to keep an eye on that and make sure that your activities are generating you that type of lead flow. And you're also going to want a lead gen platform. So when you're generating these leads, a platform with a built-in CRM is going to make it much easier for you to not only generate the leads, because that's what these platforms are designed to do. They're designed to take somebody who's interested and turn them into a lead for you, but it's also going to allow you to manage the lead through the entire sales cycle and become very systematized and organized with your business. And the third and final trait that all successful realtors that I know had in common is that they are fanatical about follow-up. So, think about this. There's like a, progress being made here. We're keeping a really good weekly schedule. We're time blocking those critical activities. We're generating leads. What's the point of all that if we're not going to follow up? There's a fortune in the follow-up, guys. And most salespeople don't realize this, but most people don't actually say yes to whatever product or offering you have until they've said no 4 times. And most salespeople give up after the first no. So you've got to stay consistent and follow up. And when I hear that word follow up, I immediately think of this word that's a pet peeve for me, and that's called check-in. You don't want to be a checker-inner. Nobody wants to be checked in on. So guys, stop checking in on people. That's not following up. When you're following up, you always want to be coming from the mindset of adding value. So how are you adding value? Maybe you recently just, met with an expired listing and they're not ready to list. How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to add value? Maybe you just had a buyer consultation meeting and they're not quite ready to buy a house yet. How are you going to follow up with them? What is important to them? And what are the follow-ups that you're going to have that are going to add value to them? We've got to get into the value transfer business and stop checking in on people. When you add value and you set a frequency, so like, what is that frequency? When I think of somebody that has fanatical follow-up, they treat everybody the same. They disposition the call, so they figure out where they are in the process. And based on where they are in the process, they're going to follow up with them at a set period of time, a set frequency. And too often when I see unsuccessful realtors, they don't follow a frequency, they follow their feelings. So they don't feel like following up. Maybe they feel like the last interaction they had wasn't super good. It didn't give them the warm and fuzzies. So then they put that person off and they don't call them back for a while. No, that's not how you do it. Like, people are going through their own stuff. It might not have been personal. It might not even been directed to you. It might have just been something that they brought to the conversation that was on them. You've got to follow up with people and follow a frequency, not your feelings. So, we used to disposition our clients as A, B, or C. A being, hey, they're looking to buy in 90 days or less. B being they're looking to buy in 90 days to 6 months. C being that they're looking to buy in 6 months or more. And what we would do is we would follow up with them accordingly. So if there were A's, we'd follow up with them weekly, always adding value. If they were B's, we'd follow up with them once every 2 weeks to once every month. And if they were C's, we'd always follow up with them once a month at a minimum. This is where you're going to do a lot of business long term. And I also think about follow up this way too, is like, maybe when you're starting out in the business or you're restarting or recommitting, you're going to be doing a lot of prospecting on those 3 to 5 lead sources that you identify. And it's going to seem like a heavy lift, guys. But if you do it well and you do it right, it will be for a period of time. Maybe that's a couple years, maybe that's 5 years. But as you're doing that type of prospecting and you're getting new clients and you're doing business, you should also be building a client database, people that you've already done business with. And if you follow up with these people correctly, and this should be a meaningful part of your business and what you do, then you're going to have repeat clients, referrals, and they're going to come back to you. And that's going to be a much easier person to prospect, to work with, because they already know, like, and trust you than somebody who's brand new that you're prospecting from scratch that's cold market to you. So make sure that your fanatical prospecting plan doesn't neglect those people that have already come into your world, but you're embracing them, and you have a follow-up campaign specifically designed for a client that you've done business with, where you're nurturing them, you're inviting them to events that you do, you're checking in on the value of their home and giving them free updates on the value of their home. Or maybe there's some things that they need to do to the home that you're checking in and providing value and references and resources, but always be coming from value. And here's the thing, guys. Real estate is simple, but it's not easy. These things that I shared with you today are very simple, but it's not always easy to do. You've got to be disciplined to that schedule. So you've got to have that initial trait of you follow a schedule. That second trait of you're always lead genning. You're always generating new leads for your business through prospecting. And then the third and final trait is you've always got to be fanatical about the follow-up. And this is an area where I see a lot of people just drop the ball on. But if you'll do those three things really well, most of the other things in your business that you're worried about will take care of themselves. And you'll have a rewarding career that will be thriving in up markets, down markets. It doesn't matter. These are the characteristics that I've seen over my 20-year career that serve you no matter what the market is doing. But you've got to stay disciplined. So simple, but not easy. And when I think of this topic and I think of these three traits, I think about some books that maybe, really come to mind for me that helped me. And one of those is a book by Hal Elrod called Miracle Mornings. This is a great book because if you're not a reader, or you're kind of new into getting into the personal development space and you just don't read a lot of books, this will be a very easy read for you. It's a fable format. You can read it in a couple hours. It's very simple, but this will get you thinking about your morning routine. And when you're thinking about that schedule and really just, you've got a plan now and you're ready to excel and you just go after it, you've got to have a morning routine that sets you up for success. And for me, that looks like working out, getting some movement, getting some fresh air. But just the act of a routine pre-frames you for success in what you're going to do next. So be thinking about that. That's a great book that will help you think about what your morning routine is and how it's setting you up for success. And then the other book that definitely comes to mind when I think of scheduling and prospecting and leads is Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And I'm super excited to announce that Jeb is actually going to be coming to our event in July. We got a huge event called Build 23 in San Antonio, and he's going to be a keynote speaker at event. Every single person that's ever worked for me in real estate, I have made read this book. It's that critical, guys. It will reframe your mind about what prospecting looks like and what expectations should be. And it's helped me tremendously, and I know it's helped a lot of people that have worked with me tremendously in their business, and I highly recommend it to you. If you haven't read it, go check it out. So that's it, guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got some value from this. We recently shot a Google Live on this, and I just felt like this was some really good content that people needed to hear right now. So I hope you got some value from it.